Hey, it's Voss Graham. I'm here at still at the TTI-SI Con 2019, hanging out with a lot of thought leaders and brilliant people and leaders in their own, let's see, categories, so to speak. We have a common thread of assessments. And today I want to introduce you to Laurie Taylor. She's the CEO of Flashpoint in Tucson, Arizona, and she is a brilliant person, so I want you to pay attention to what she has to say. She's also the one who has brought the stages of growth, which is one of the tools that we use, I'm certified on, and I love it because it helps the CEOs understand how to grow their business the right way. And I just want to ask a couple of questions of you, Laurie, and thank you for joining me.
You're welcome, Voss. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So let's start out with a really general question. I know you certify in consultants around the country, the world, I guess.
Yep.
And I would like to get a summary of what is this about the stages of growth that's so important, particularly to the CEO?
You know, and I love to talk about this, Voss, because I ran a company. So I took a company from stage 1 to stage 6, and there's all kinds of challenges you run into. When I met up with James Fisher, the author and researcher behind this model, it resonated with me. I was running that company. He found us. We were one of those fast-growing companies, between 1 and 500 employees, which is what the model covers. And I was just like, oh my gosh, somebody can actually come in and help you figure out what you need to worry about. Because when you're running a company, everything's a panic. Everything's a hot button. So the thing I love about the stages of growth is, first of all, Fisher's research said, when he went and did the research, it was based on the fact that he saw that the complexity increased as a company grew. And the complexity increased because of people, not because of revenue. Revenue is simple to manage. People are not.
When you say people, are we talking about like personal agendas and their own personal goals and things of that nature?
Yes, we're talking about, and the way styles. And the styles, and what he said is if you have 1 to 10 employees, you're in stage 1. Yep. And when you're in stage 2 when you get from 11 to 19 employees. So now you can identify in your own world, okay, I'm a stage 1 CEO. And the model says there's different things you need to know as a stage 1 CEO. When I was running our company, I was, you're stage 1 one day and the next day you're stage 3. You don't know what changed for you that you have to focus on. So the thing that I love about the model is it helps the CEO say, okay, I'm a stage 1 today. I've got 1 to 10 employees. But when I flip into stage 2, there's a whole nother set of issues I need to be aware of. So the model is predictive. You can actually predict what you need to do as you grow your organization. That's why I love it. That's why I get so excited about it.
Actually, I'm quite excited about it too, because I've helped several companies.
Yeah, you've got great experiences.
And the experience that I've had is just phenomenal, particularly in working with the different stages. Plus, I even used it in my own business. I'm in the old stage 1 startup mode for 36 years.
Right, you're not a startup.
But I love the non-negotiable rules. Yep. Would you mind sharing a little bit on the non-negotiable rules? Because
certainly.
Some of my clients have a little problem understanding that. And
what are those? So it's a part of what Fisher identified as hidden agents.
Hidden agents.
And there are several of them that are in this model. One of them is the 27 challenges. So Fisher came up with 27 business challenges every business will face as they grow. It doesn't matter how long. If you stay in stage 1 for 30 years, Voss, you're still going to hit all 27 of those challenges.
Right.
But the model says if you're in stage 1, here's the 5 you need to worry about today.
The most.
The most. So these are hidden agents, meaning the hidden agents help identify the root cause of what's creating obstacles to growth. We, as business owners, tend to chase surface issues.
Right.
And the model helps you dig down deeper and actually solve the real problem. So the non-negotiable rules, there's 5 of them for each stage of growth. And they are what they say. They are non-negotiable. So if you're a stage 1 company, you're going to hire for fit, not skill. That's one of the non-negotiable rules for stage 1. Why? Because in stage 1, you don't even know what your business is going to be yet. So you're gonna waste money going out and finding skills that you don't even know you need yet.
Right.
But what you want is you want people that fit with the culture and your vision and your passion, and they get excited about where you're going.
Right.
So the non-negotiable rules change again for each stage of growth, and that's what helps a CEO focus on the right things at the right time.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now you come from a unique environment in that not only are you certifying consultants across the world today, but you actually experienced this going from you said stage one to stage six.
Yep.
And
yep.
What was that like? I mean, as a CEO of the business, did you run into these challenges as far as the hidden agents?
We did, and I was the COO. My business partner was the CEO.
Okay.
But yes, we did, but we didn't know what we didn't know, right?
Well,
so
that's a big one.
if I knew now what I knew then, if I knew then what I know now is the way to say it, I would have handled that growth a lot different. We did. We grew from stage one to stage six. We had 120 employees. We did a lot of things right, but at one point we had to lay off 30 employees because of the recession. And I swear to this day, Voss, if I knew more about the stages of growth back then, I would not have had to impact 30 people's lives badly.
Yeah.
Because I would have been smarter. That's all. You don't know everything.
As one of my mentors, Alan Weiss, says, you know, it's amazing how stupid I was 2 weeks ago. Because we constantly learn. If we're in a continuous learning mode, which we should be, particularly as CEOs, leaders are readers. We have to study all the time and learn. And you know, I'm age 70. I'm still going to workshops and hiring consultants myself to teach me stuff.
And helping CEOs grow their
businesses.
businesses.
Right, and that's probably the most satisfaction I get is helping these organizations get to that next level, whatever that is. And that's the other thing, the other piece that I've learned is that every company, every CEO, every individual, they're at different levels of their own development, be it personal or professional. And you have to figure out where they are first, and that's what the stages of growth, the X-ray, as you call it, the X-ray allows us to actually understand where are you today, and then what are your desires, where do you want to go, and you plan that out so that you have a roadmap, and then you have a desired goal out here within a certain time frame, and that goal, then your objective is to close that gap. You can, and my clients have discovered that they close the gap faster when they utilize this information that helps them know what decisions to make, when to make them, what's hidden in I call in the woodwork. In fact, I know there's one of the hidden agents that you talk about a lot and you've trained us on are the builder-protector ratio. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And I know in stage one it's like 4 to 1, 4 builders for every 1 protector. And this is where I screwed up one time. And I hired some people who came from corporate that had the 9-to-5 jobs, and that's all they wanted to do was 9 to 5. They didn't have the cultural aspect of a entrepreneurial company, small business where you wear multiple hats and you work, you do whatever it takes to get the job done and follow up on your commitments with clients. And they wanted to leave at 5 and they didn't show up until 9, and you know it was like, oh my gosh, I discovered I had way too many blockers.
You did. You had protectors instead of builders.
Yeah, they were protecting and blocking, and they were not focused on what we were trying to do with the culture. I wanted a high performing culture, and I was getting a status quo culture.
Well, and to that point, Voss, let me make this point because this is a big deal. CEOs live in different worlds than their employees.
That's true.
CEOs get the risk. They thrive on risk.
Particularly the entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Now, the second generation entrepreneur may not quite have the same go-to, but third generation usually is just like the first generation. Which I always found that amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting and amazing. They skip a generation as far as drive and want to accomplish and create their own legacy.
Well, and the challenge they have.
There are exceptions. I will point out.
No, you're right. There's exceptions to everything. But the reality for a CEO is they have to recognize their employees do not understand the business like they do.
Right.
They're there to do a job, and our goal as managers of those employees is to engage them. That's our job.
Right.
But when we expect that they'll get it, we're setting everybody up to fail, because they don't live in our world. So for them, any kind of change is bad. We go, change is good.
Change is good.
We need
Chaos
to
is good.
Chaos
It's just,
is
you
good.
know, we
But-
find a new business
but
model
not
out
in
of
our
that.
employees' world. So that's why the X-ray process gives everybody who's in that process a chance to voice their view of how the company is run without it being personal. It's an organizational view, and it gives everybody a chance to say, well, I didn't know that was what cash flow was all about.
Right.
I didn't understand how we made profit. Now I do. It's a great education process. We have to educate our folks.
I know in stage one, one of the non-negotiable is to create new products.
Yes.
And when I read that, learned that, I was like, oh my gosh. I looked back at the data from years past. Every time I added new products, I could still call on my existing clients, and they would, because of the trust factor, and they knew that I was going to deliver the results.
Yep.
They signed up.
Yep.
Versus
Yeah.
not having the new thing, you kind of your sales growth kind of flattened out.
Yes.
Now, speaking of sales growth,
Yep.
there is a difference between the growth, stages of growth. People immediately go to revenue.
Yes.
Now, revenue is great. You got to have it.
You do.
And you got to sell, particularly in stages 1 and 2, you got to sell every day.
You do.
Make offers every day. But this is not built on sales growth per se, but actually contributes to the sales growth in a different way, correct?
Correct.
That's my understanding.
Yes.
That's what I've seen with my clients, at
Absolutely.
least. Is that what you see?
That's what I see. So we want revenue growth. We absolutely do. I just worked with one of the growth curve strategists, took a CEO and their team through an X-ray. He said this will add $400,000 to EBITDA.
Yes.
Before earnings.
EBITDA.
Yeah,
Ooh,
before.
Not just
to
top line, but
to my bottom line. $400,000 by just understanding some of the issues, like you call them blockages, some of the obstacles that they'll now be able to take a hold of and do something with. We're all good at doing. Sometimes we just don't know what we're supposed to do. So this is really clarifying.
That's fantastic, because the people, adding more and more people does add to the complexity. You bring in managers.
Yep.
You have to deal with, what kind of competencies do I bring on board at this time?
Yes.
There's a lot of questions that have to be answered in order to be successful long term. But I'm also curious, let's see, I love all this stuff, as you can imagine.
I love that you love it.
And sorry about it. We're sitting out here where we had lunch, and the cleanup crew is working right now, so just bear with us for a minute. But I lost my question. This is what happens when you get easily distracted.
I understand. Squirrel.
That's my behavior style. I can, a bright shiny thing.
Off chase it. Well,
That's being opportunity based all the time.
It's all right. That's okay.
But let's see. Gosh, it was a great question.
Something about people, maybe complexity,
Yeah,
or maybe
and
managers, adding more
yeah,
people.
managers, because one of the things that puzzles a lot of my clients is when do I need to promote people? What percentage do I need as in other executives, like peers it sits at the executive table?
Yep.
How many managers and supervisors do I need?
Yep.
In addition to the number of just total employees.
Yep.
Now, the stages of growth helps
it even helps
monitor
you do that.
correct?
It does. It does. It tells you, and I think this is the one thing over the years that has changed in the model, because I've been doing this for 15 years, and the information is still so on target. But one thing I think has changed. In the model, they give you a broad range between how many managers you should have in each stage of growth.
Right.
My recommendation anymore is to shoot toward that lower end.
That's kind of what I've been
because
doing.
We're trying to flatten those hierarchies out.
Flatten them, and also the more decision makers you put into the room, the more difficult it is to come to a consensus.
Exactly.
And then you get what I call delays.
Yes.
that people don't launch because they're still hashing out the details and debating who's right, who's wrong, instead of just moving for the good of the organization.
Exactly. And the thing that you mentioned, Voss, the other thing that this model does, and I always recommend to my growth curve strategists and specialists, that we start with the name of the stage of growth. So that tells you a lot right there. So
all
stage
7 have a
one,
name.
is startup. Stage 2 is ramp up. Stage 3 is delegation. Stage 4 is professional. So that immediately, when you get down into stage 4, that's when you start hiring or promoting professional managers in your organization. You're too big now not to start having that division. So the model, again, helps you figure out to answer that question. When should I start bringing on managers? You can start in stage 3. So the other thing about this model is a continuum. So as soon as you land in any stage of growth, the model says, get ready for the next one. So that's why if you're in stage 3 and you feel you've really gotten a lot of the delegation issues taken care of, then by all means start thinking about who those good managers are going to be.
Right. You know, that I just remembered what I wanted to bring up, and that was the exit strategies for some CEOs, because they in some cases the CEO burns out, or the added the number of employees has created so much complexity that they feel like they're no longer capable or competent enough to lead the company. Now, I question that, because I believe in entrepreneurs should hang in there and go the distance and just learn how to do the different things, because it's not that difficult. But in any event, they get bored, or they have a new opportunity and they want to exit. I have found that the stages of growth are very, very helpful for identifying areas that have not had the attention paid to them that should have been paid to them,
in order to make an exit feasible.
Right, without having due diligence find a bunch of screw-ups and bad systems and that sort of thing. Which I had a client, as I've shared with you, I had a stage 6 client who had tried to sell his company twice, and both times the due diligence failed. But that was because he was primarily a sales guy, and he didn't like to work in, he didn't like systems or processes. And therefore he ignored those to a large degree. So he had antiquated systems, he had poor reporting processes. I mean, it was really bad. But we came in and we did the X-ray. We identified probably 20 different areas that had to be shored up in order for them to be a solid company again, with a solid foundation to move into the future. And then 18 months later, he was able to leave with a substantial increase in value, which made him extremely happy. But I also, that was one of those things that I thought was a win-win-win, a triple win, because not only did the seller win, the entrepreneur won, but the company that purchased them, they also won, because they got a well-run organization that was fluid, and actually the data shows that they just increased their revenue by 50% once they got all the operations and procedures and systems in place. So they're still growing revenue-wise.
And they kept their managers.
And the third piece is the managers were doing so good, they retained all the managers.
That's huge.
So that was like a win-win-win.
That is so huge.
The managers didn't lose their job and have to go figure out, well, how do I start over in life? The
new company didn't have to go start all over again, trying to find people that already knew so much about the company.
That is it. Because if you don't, there's a lot of people don't realize how important it is to retain the talent. And I know in stage 5, that's one of the non-negotiable challenges. And that's all about retaining the expertise and the talent that you have. It becomes a challenge at that point. Because the number of people has gotten so diverse that it's somewhat confusing.
And now when somebody leaves, it's a big deal. You lose so much. You lose, even if they leave on a good way, like they just decide they're going to find another opportunity. The ripple effect through the company, and I talk about this in my stage 5 book, because that leaving creates such a horrible feeling on the parts of everybody else staying. They're like, well, why did Voss leave? Doesn't he not like it here? Does he know something we don't? So if that CEO isn't really proactive with that expertise walking out the door and how they manage it internally, it can start getting that company go down this downward spiral that is not very good.
And I've seen the organizations get hamstrung by having a talent leave that he or she had the basically the knowledge to operate certain things that nobody else had.
Yep.
They had none of the operating expertise in order to handle that, and then when they left, they were in dire straits because they couldn't figure out how to do this key, and it was a key
exactly
function within the company. If you couldn't do it, the customers were not happy.
Yep.
Which led to a drop in sales and customer satisfaction, which was also negative.
Yep.
And it just goes to show that there's a lot of things you have to pay attention to, like what are the critical bottlenecks relative to talent and wisdom, and how do we inventory that? I mean, that's kind of a system.
It is.
But you got to be paying attention.
You do.
And
you do.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Oh, by the way, she just mentioned her Stage 5 book. Now I'm trying to. I know I should know this, but when I'm talking, my brain sometimes checks out on the left side with the details. What is it? 125 is the top on the Stage 5.
Stage 5, 58 to 95.
95.
Yep.
So if you have 95 or less, you can go to Amazon and look up Laurie Taylor's name and get one of. You can get the stage of growth that fits your company, and you can read one of her books. She's got 5 books out now on Amazon. She'll be ginning out
6 is coming this year.
6 and 7, and I'm going to be first in line to buy them because I find that they're extremely good.
Oh,
this
so
last
sweet.
one's a little bit thicker than some of the others.
I know. I'm trying not to get there. And do under Laurie L. Taylor, because there's thousands of Laurie Taylor. So if you search for Laurie L. Taylor, you'll see my books. But yes, thank you, Voss, and
they're really good, by the way. I can
so
can say that I've read all of her books because it helps me be a better consultant.
That's right.
And if I know the ins and outs of what's going on, I can advise my clients a lot better and help them grow, not only overcome the complexity, but also to grow their revenue, to become more profitable.
To keep jobs coming.
Yeah, keep the jobs going and happy
employed.
people.
Yeah.
It's just a whole bunch of things, plus all the things that we bring into the table, into the environment to help them upgrade.
Absolutely.
Both talent and systems
Those
and
tools
whatnot.
are so valuable, and you do that so well, Voss.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do know that we've been listening to speakers this morning at the conference.
Yeah.
That talk on innovation was excellent.
Excellent.
Really got my mind working on. Oh, okay. So you can go all kind of different directions and cross paths with other functional areas, other organizations, other cultures, and come up with new ways of doing things that you don't have to be a genius to figure out.
That's what I love that. You're
Rhodes
right.
Scholar or something like that. You can actually just kind of wing it and put stuff together as you find what doesn't work. You just try a new avenue, and that's that optimistic point of view, which probably 95% of entrepreneurs have. They're optimistic. They've got that extra drive, and they look at opportunities all the time.
Never give up. They're always going to look for something new to go do.
All right. Well, let me ask you, is there any other comments you want to do? I don't want to keep you here. I know you've got to drive back to Tucson tonight.
No, I loved the conversation. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you.
Well, I'm going to post this up on YouTube and some other places, maybe LinkedIn and some other stuff. I'll tag you.
Oh, please.
I'll put the L in now.
Yeah.
LL Cool right here.
Oh, thank you, Voss. You're so funny. You're so good. Thank you.
All right.
Truly.
Well,
thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You've given me tools that boy, if I just had these 30 years ago when I started, I would be a heck of a lot more successful today.
I totally hear that.
And I would have gotten the synergy that I wanted a long time ago to build a network of consulting offices and people. Of course, now that everybody's doing virtual,
it is.
which is cool. I mean, you can do that and as well as have offices. But I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I want to remind you that if you will please put comments down in the bottom. Ask questions. If you got a question for Laurie, I'll be more than happy to shoot that off to her, and you will, if you leave your contact information, she will get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Or
she'll tell me what to say, and I'll put it in the comments as a reply for you. But check out her books on Amazon. They're sitting there waiting. You can get the hardcover or you can get the Kindle versions, and it's well worth the read and the time and effort to learn from the master over here.
Oh, thank you.
Who's teaching other people how to do it the right way, which I certainly appreciate. I, for one, have appreciated everything you've done as far as teasing my brain on a regular basis. I tell you what, you challenge me every day, it seems like.
Well,
the only thing I've got to get you to do is, since I hit 70, the print on your emails,
too small.
We got to get up into at least 14 points.
I'm hearing that. I'll do it.
14 points. The 9 and the 8 and 9 is just not going to work. I have to use a magnifying glass.
And I don't know why I do it, because I can't read it either. So you got it. Next one's going to be bigger.
As you can tell, we have a lot of fun together, bantering back and forth. And leave a comment, ask a question. And by the way, you know, I'm still doing my lives on Facebook, and I post those on other social media. But I want you to know that I really love questions and suggestions of what is of interest to you. I've been accused of being the walking, talking encyclopedia of business, and sometimes the most difficult thing I have to do is to channel down to a singular topic unless somebody asks. When they ask, I can pretty much contribute and answer their questions, and I'm not bragging. It's just 50 years of business experience is not too much I haven't seen, heard, or experienced firsthand, as you have.
Yeah.
No, you're not 70, so
close.
She's much younger than me. Anyway,
we'll let it go at that.
All right, thank you very much again, and tune in. I'll be posting regular videos, a couple more from the conference. I've got a couple of people lined up. I know I'm going to be doing Ron Bonstetter this afternoon. We're going to talk about brain research. That should be very interesting, because that's one of the things our assessment company does, is they engage in brain research. Woo! Heavy duty stuff, man. I mean, they put the little cap on there and they read the old brain waves, and from that they can predict accurately what's making you tick.
Wow.
So anyway, thank you very much. Take care, and I really appreciate you listening to us tonight.